February 28, 2026, 4:17 a.m., Tehran, Iran. The city is quiet. Street lights glow over empty highways. Most of the capital is asleep. But inside a fortified compound in northern Tehran, the lights are still on. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is awake. Supreme leader of Iran, commander of the armed forces, the most powerful man in the Islamic Republic. For more than 3 decades, every major decision in Iran has passed through him. Military strategy, foreign policy, the shadow war against Israel and the United States. Then, a flash, not lightning, missiles, precision-guided. Seconds later, the compound disappears in a violent explosion. Windows shatter across nearby buildings. Concrete collapses. Shockwaves ripple across the district. Within minutes, satellites in Washington and Tel Aviv confirm what the world will soon learn. The target is gone. Khamenei dead. Alongside him, several of Iran's most senior military officials and advisors. One strike, decades of leadership erased in seconds. But this was not just an assassination. It was a strategic decapitation, and the consequences could reshape the entire world.
To understand the strike, you have to understand the man. Ali Khamenei was not supposed to become Iran's most powerful leader. In the 1960s, he was a young cleric studying religion in the holy city of Qom. Quiet, disciplined, deeply political. Then came 1979, the Iranian Revolution. The Shah is overthrown. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returns from exile. Iran transforms from a monarchy into an Islamic republic. Khamenei becomes part of the revolutionary elite. Over the next decade, he rises quickly. By 1989, after Khomeini's death, Iran's leadership faces a decision. Who replaces the founder of the revolution? The choice surprises many. Ali Khamenei becomes supreme leader. From that moment forward, he begins building something powerful. Not just a government, a network. Militias across the Middle East, Hezbollah in Lebanon, armed groups in Iraq, forces in Syria, the Houthis in Yemen. Iran avoids direct wars. Instead, it fights through proxies. And at the center of that system stands the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, a military organization loyal not to the government, but to the supreme leader himself. For Israel and the United States, that network becomes one of the greatest strategic threats in the region.
The strike in Tehran was not aimed at just one man. It targeted the entire leadership structure. Among those reported killed were senior figures connected to Iran's military command and strategic operations. Commanders inside the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, advisors responsible for coordinating proxy forces across the Middle East, officials linked to Iran's missile and weapons programs. Some died instantly in the explosion. Others were trapped in collapsing underground bunkers beneath the compound. Early estimates suggested dozens of high-ranking officials were killed in the opening strike. Military planners call this strategy leadership decapitation. Remove the command structure, disrupt the chain of control, force confusion inside the enemy. But history shows something dangerous. Sometimes removing leaders does not stop wars. Sometimes it starts them.
The attack did not happen in isolation. For years, the region had been drifting toward confrontation. Iran's expanding missile program, its nuclear research, drone attacks carried out by allied militias. Meanwhile, Israel conducted covert operations to slow Iran's progress. Cyber attacks, sabotage missions, assassinations of nuclear scientists. A quiet war, one fought in shadows. By 2025, tensions escalated sharply. Israeli operations targeted several Iranian military facilities and commanders. Iran retaliated through regional allies. Rocket attacks, drone strikes, threats to shipping in the Persian Gulf. Washington began tracking something very specific: the movements of Iran's senior leadership. And then intelligence analysts noticed something unusual. Several high-ranking officials were gathering in Tehran at the same time. a rare opportunity. Military planners had been waiting for that moment. When the window appeared, the strike was authorized. Missiles launched, targets locked. The operation moved forward. Hours after the explosions in Tehran, two messages appeared. One from Washington, one from Jerusalem. First, the White House. U.S. President Donald Trump released a video statement explaining the operation. He described Iran's leadership as a threat to the United States and its allies. Then he delivered a warning to Iran's military: lay down your weapons or face destruction. Trump said the campaign was designed to dismantle Iran's military capability and force the regime to change course. He even addressed ordinary Iranians, saying they deserved a different future. Then came the timeline. Trump told reporters the campaign could last several weeks, depending on Iran's response. Airstrikes, he said, would continue as long as necessary. Minutes later, another video appeared. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, standing behind a desk with Israeli flags behind him. He confirmed what analysts suspected. The strikes were coordinated between Israel and the United States. Their goal, he said, was to eliminate what Israel considers an existential threat. For decades, Iran's leadership had called for Israel's destruction. Netanyahu said Israel would not wait for Iran to become nuclear armed, and like Trump, he warned the campaign would not end quickly. It might take time, but Israel, he said, would continue until the threat was removed. Retaliation began quickly. Iran launched drones toward U.S. military bases across the Middle East. Targets included installations in Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Air defenses intercepted many of them, but not all. Some attacks caused casualties among American personnel stationed in the region. Elsewhere, missiles were launched toward Israel. Sirens sounded across multiple Israeli cities. Air defense systems intercepted incoming projectiles. Meanwhile, U.S. naval forces operating in the region moved into position. Iranian military assets at sea became targets. The conflict now had three central players: Iran, Israel, the United States. But the real fear was not just those three. It was who might join next. Wars rarely stay contained, especially in the Middle East. Iran maintains a network of allies across the region: Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Iraq, forces in Syria, the Houthis in Yemen. If those groups enter the conflict simultaneously, Israel could face attacks from several directions. But the danger does not stop there. Major global powers are watching carefully. Russia maintains close strategic ties with Iran. China depends heavily on energy flowing through the Persian Gulf, and the region controls nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. If the Strait of Hormuz were closed, global energy markets would collapse overnight. Prices surge, economies destabilize, military alliances activate, the conflict spreads. Not because anyone plans a world war, but because too many powerful countries are already connected to the battlefield. And that brings the story full circle. In the early morning darkness of February 28, 2026, missiles erased the man who had shaped Iran's strategy for nearly 40 decades, a leader who spent his life preparing for conflict with Israel and the United States, killed in a strike attributed to them. No warning, no speech, just fire in the sky over Tehran, and a question that still hangs over the world. Did that strike prevent a war or start one? Because sometimes the most dangerous moment in history is the moment after the king falls. And somewhere tonight, in another war room, someone is already planning the next move.